Hey guys, welcome to one of my flip projects. A couple months ago, this was supposed to be a quick flip that ended up taking a lot more work. It completely caught fire in the middle of the night, about a week before Christmas. And now I'm gonna tell you about how we're actually gonna be making the project way better and how we're actually gonna be coming out on top. We're still gonna walk away with about over $70,000 on this project. Come inside, see what the numbers look like and what looks like to flip a fire damaged house. And so the fire started in the bathroom of the second floor. Pretty much everything from the second floor up had to go, and pretty much most of the bottom floor as well. All this siding that you see that is now replaced completely melted down. All the windows, the glass and kind of debris on the sides of both areas. These windows are all brand new. The fascia as well as part of the roof had to be replaced. Pretty much the entirety of all the studs and framing inside, and then everything that else comes with it that costs money. You know, your HVAC, electric and plumbing, those are all fully permanent and had to be replaced. This property ended up becoming a shell that is now a full gut property where it had to be mitigated, stabilized, and when you have a fire damaged property, that has to be done correctly and make sure there's no charged studs that are going to compromise the integrity and security of the house. So those all got replaced with it, as well as pretty much everything inside. This is where fire had started. Originally, the fire investigator had deemed it due to a sawdust compactor staying hot and sparking with polyurethane from the paint, basically, that we were fixing and resanding the hardwood floors. So here's where we're replacing a lot of the damage that kind of came. We're on the first floor right now. The kitchen used to be here. Even if it wasn't directly affected by the fire, once the firefighters came and had to put out the fire, pretty much everything was, once the water damage from the hoses got to it. So that's why we're replacing everything kind of down here, because if you don't, you're gonna get mold everywhere in the house. So that needs to be taken care of as well. As you can see, it's all brand new electric, all brand new HVAC and plumbing, as well as the brand new sewer stack. And then everything's kind of mitigated here just because this is where the biggest hole, there's like a giant gaping hole in this floorboard. So that is all new subfloor. In general, insulation all around and new ducts as well. And then this is another area that got affected. As you can see, these were able to be saved. Some of these studs. The subfloor of the roof was actually pretty good, but as you can see there, we just went in and reinforced it. You can see a couple new studs that are just kind of holding everything together. But the roof and subroof were like one of the only items that we were able to save, as well as some of the exterior decking, and that's pretty much it. All right, so currently in the living room of the house on the first floor, as you can see, there's some of the darker studs as well as the rafters as well, and kind of where the lighter ones are, and that's where basically those were charred, had to completely replace them. The floor had caved in, so we have all new subflooring down there as well, where a lot of the damage is right here because it's right below the bathroom. But in general, there's a lot ripped out. This is basically a full gut property right now. What do we even do after? So this is why you have insurance. If we didn't have insurance, we'd be pretty much out of loss, out of pocket, and that's where we have a loan on this property, and we basically have a loan with a property now that is completely burned, and that's terrible. That's how you end up in bad situations. You owe a lot more money than what you actually have is worse. So always make sure you're just properly insured. Basically, the next day we went and filed a claim with our insurance, where they send the fire investigator out as well as an adjuster within the next couple days, and pretty much have to take 1 million pictures, submit them, and you can't touch the property. It basically gets zoned off and yellow tape pretty much, basically, so no one is tampering with evidence, because it is a crime scene. That's what the investigators there for, determine if it was who was at fault, what caused it, and if there's any type of arson or illegal activity involved. And the insurance sends their own adjuster to see what happened, if everything verifies, as well as to see what the actual replacement cost of all this material is, because it adds up pretty quickly. So then the city actually also comes out the next day, make sure no one's tampering with it. They slap a nice danger symbol right on here to make sure you don't enter, no one tampers with it, and they can conduct a full investigation via the fire investigator. So after about 6 weeks of just waiting, we're able to get a payout for about $170,000 to completely rebuild the house. And that was pretty spot on with about everything that I was gonna take in order to rebuild it. It's gonna take us about $145,000 to $150,000 to rebuild it. So technically on paper, we made a little bit of profit, but it's not really profit because we are planning on rebuilding it and are actively rebuilding it. So we have about $3,000 a month in holding costs. So that's gonna be about another $12,000 to $15,000 out of our pocket that we have to keep paying the mortgage on, because we still have a mortgage on this property at the end of the day. So there's two options when it comes to getting that insurance payout. You can either take the insurance payout and sell the house as is, walk away from it and be done. If you get a marginal difference on that, you actually take that and you rehab the full house. But we are choosing the latter. We are choosing to rehab the entire house, make it pretty much brand new. We're in a shell right now, so everything will pretty much be brand new to code. And that ultimately enhances the overall value of the property, because this is an early 1900s built house. Things like insulation, there's a lot better insulation, soundproof insulation, all mechanics and your CapEx, like I said, like electric, plumbing, and HVAC, they're all updated. We did have a lot of updated electric before this, as well as plumbing, but even something like the stack, that white pipe over there is the main sewer line, that was still lead. So that one's new PVC, and that's a lot of big value add that makes this ultimately nicer. We're actually also reconfiguring the layout of this property in total. We actually are getting rid of a bedroom. We bought this as a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. We're gonna be actually turning it back into a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, getting rid of one of the bedrooms and making it into a formal dining room. Here's how we came on top of it, by going with option number 2. If we did sell it off, we're gonna have to sell it for pennies on the dollar to somebody else who's ultimately gonna rehab it. If someone's gonna rehab it, we might as well do it, because we would like to earn that profit as well as enhance the house. The property is gonna be worth more because of all the new features that I mentioned, as well as everything being brand new and up to date, and the better layout, especially in the city of Columbus. Things do still sell. But some of the numbers break down on this property. When we first bought the property, it was actually going into foreclosure. So we bought it right before it hit the foreclosure market. So we bought this for $280,000. Our goal was to put $25,000 into it. It was pretty much all set, had a lot of newer mechanics, and this was like updated HVAC, some cosmetic improvements, but it still just did not look like a great house. There's a lot of things like wrong with it that just needed to be done. The flooring was new paint, nicer kitchen. So we were planning on being all in at about $305,000 and planning on reselling at around the $360,000 to $365,000 mark, which after closing costs, agent fees, anything else, we would probably be walking around with about the $45,000 to $50,000 range of profit. After that, we still have our amount of about $280,000 that we owe our hard money lender. We are all in still for that $305,000, but we got the additional $170,000 that we're basically going to rehab this property. And like I said, we'll probably be in at about the $140,000 to $145,000, give or take, with some closing costs. So after that, we're not going to be out any extra money on that end, just because it was enough to be able to cover our full demolition, our full remodel, all material, and our holding costs, which will probably equate to being a grand total between that 160 range, about that. But our resale value goes up significantly now that everything's brand new, everything's more functional, and we're probably going to be targeting about another $30,000 to $45,000 higher. We're looking at about a sale price between the $380,000 more towards the $400K range of a sale price, which would net us around that $70,000 at the end of the day. So that's kind of why we chose to go for it. Ultimately get a sale, keep our contractors busy, make a little bit more profit by rebuilding it. So should you let anything like this or taking on a fire damage property deter you ever? I would say no. You're going to ultimately learn a lot, basically about the full permitting process, how to deal with a bad situation and still make the best out of it, and if not, even come out on top. I wouldn't ideally recommend starting with a fire damage property as your first project. This is not my first project, but this is my first property that has been a fire damage property. So it's just another skill set that you acquire, another that you're able to bring to the table when it comes to other situations. And if you end up in this one again, ultimately just take a step back, take a deep breath, and someone else has been in this situation before. I got advice on how to work with the city from other people who have dealt with this or have been in some type of distressed, highly distressed asset situation. You learn to work with insurance, what that full process looks like. At the end of the day, just make sure you're properly insured. You're working with the city to make sure things are done in a timely manner. And would I do it again? Yes, I would. Honestly, wouldn't have changed anything of how this process went. I thought it was a pretty easy process for what it was in the beginning. Nothing with the city is technically ever easy, but for what it was in the situation we were in, with the house burning down about 4 days before we were done with the finished product and having to redo it all again, this is the outcome I would hope for. So I would probably do it again. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you have any questions about the process and the end result of our property here.